get started. Let's call the meeting to order. You ready for us, Gary?
Yeah.
Greg won't be here today, and Brittany's not here yet, so stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody. First item up, we approve the meeting agenda. Any changes in the agenda?
Want to make sure that we have hired for, no, we're good.
We're good? Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brenda,
Second.
second by Ann. Any discussion on the agenda? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Agenda carries. All right. Opportunity for visitors to address the board. Looks like we're good. And we'll start with acknowledgements. I'm going to acknowledge the work of the summer recreation staff and the COVID team. Ryan, you got anything to add?
Yeah, thank you for our summer rec team. We're not totally done with summer rec because we have open gym and play here going on, coming up, but the majority of activities are complete, and thank you to all the workers and Mr. Rund as he directed summer rec. Great experience for our students to work with kids and have a summer job and to coach. I think overall it was a great experience for them. And COVID team, thank you to all the members of the COVID team. Hopefully we can retire the COVID team. That's our goal here, but we'll see how things go. I think we've learned the last couple of years the unknown, what's going to happen. We'll deal with it as it comes, but hopefully we can retire that team.
Okay. When does summer rec, when are they done?
Majority of activities are done with summer rec.
Okay.
We do have a couple teams finishing up, and we have open gym going on, and then we have the play, summer play.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the council report. Ms. Kelsey Lage, I'd
Sure.
like to give an introduction.
Sounds good. I'm not sure with the camera, I'm supposed to stand up there, back here.
Perfect.
What was that? Okay, sounds good. All right, for those of you that do not know me, my name is Kelsey Lage, and I am very excited to be in the role of school counselor for the upcoming school year. And I actually had the opportunity to be an intern here under Lauren Siebels when I was completing my master's degree for school counseling. Today I would like to share with you something I'm hoping you'll be excited about, and that would be the opportunity to utilize a therapy dog in Pelican Rapids School. And then just a little bit about me. I grew up in Spicer, Minnesota, and I graduated from New London Spicer High School. I went to Concordia College in Moorhead, where I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and Spanish. And I went to NDSU for my master's in school counseling. And I worked at NDSU for 2 years as the assistant director in athletic academics. And then after that, I was school counselor at Kennedy Secondary School for 5 years. And now I'm very excited to be here. So that's a little bit about me. And then on the next picture, I'm married to Chris Lage, and together we have a 2-year-old son named Miles, and our fur baby Chips, who is the therapy dog that I want to share a little bit about. Unfortunately, he was not able to come today. I wanted to bring him. He has an injured foot at the moment, so he just wasn't quite up to par yet. And I think he's still on summer hours. It was way too early for him. All right. So something I want to clear up really quickly is the terminology. Sometimes these get confused or they're used interchangeably when we're talking about the type of service that dogs can do. So I want to make sure that I'm really clear on what my dog could do. So a service dog is a dog specifically trained extensively to help an individual person with a documented disability such as blindness or seizures. And there are federal protections under Americans with Disability Act for this animal to enter any building. A therapy dog is a dog trained to provide comfort and affection to people in settings such as hospitals, retirement homes, and schools, and that's only when you're invited and welcome into that facility. So that is what my dog Chibs is registered as a therapy dog. And then some people have emotional support animals, and that is when a therapist can prescribe that a person who suffers from an emotional or mental disability can have their pet live with them, and landlords cannot refuse or charge more for this. And what's important to note about an emotional support animal is that no training is required for this. So as you look at the list, like a service dog has the most training, therapy dog, mid-level training, emotional support animal, no training is required. And one of the other big differences with a therapy animal is that they are trained to work with all people. It's not just for one individual purpose or one individual person. So that's something else that's worth noting. So my dog is registered as a therapy dog. So the training that my dog went through is I took him to Lucky Dog in Detroit Lakes, and he completed the Good Canine Citizen, which is an American Kennel Club certification. There were 10 specific skills that he had to do in front of a trainer that was specifically trained to administer this exam. And after we successfully completed this course, I went on to do the therapy team course through Lucky Dog in Yale. It is not required that you go through a local kennel to complete therapy training, but most of the time it's really helpful because it's the skills of taking your animal to a different facility, interacting with other people, and they really help you prepare for all the skills that they need to do. So I really enjoyed that experience. And then I am registered through Pet Partners, and Pet Partners is probably one of the most popular companies that offers liability insurance for animal-assisted therapy for having a therapy dog. And I had to take an online class, learn about all the rules and expectations of having your dog be a therapy dog. And then Chibs and I had to do a team evaluation. And we had to do that in a public location with an evaluator that we had never met before. And that is due every 3 years, so in December, again, Chibs and I will do the evaluation again. And then every year he does a wellness exam to make sure that he is healthy and up to date on all of his vaccinations to be able to visit facilities. And like I mentioned earlier, he wasn't 100% today, so that's why I didn't bring him, and that's just one of the rules and expectations that I have to follow with Pet Partners. All right, so why therapy dogs are helpful to have in school. I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I did have Chibs with me at my previous school, and I found that it worked really well, and it was helpful for a number of reasons, but probably the most popular ones are that therapy dogs can really provide calm for students when they're having a meltdown. I would have students that would come in really, really high, anxious, maybe even yelling, and as soon as they saw my dog, they would totally mellow out. I mean, I didn't even say anything, it just totally changed the environment. They can provide comfort and reassurance if someone is feeling anxious or even having a panic attack. Therapy dogs can be great for school engagement if there are certain students that maybe struggle with attendance. Being able to have some Chibs time has been a good incentive to help get students to school, I have found, and it's just one more tool for me to have in my toolbox to be able to connect with students that maybe I wouldn't have been able to connect with, or maybe someone who wouldn't want to necessarily come into the counseling office, and now there's a dog, so they have a new reason to come in. So there's just been a lot of benefits of having a dog in the school. And then how I think this was successful for me in the past is that I had a letter of introduction that was sent at the beginning of this school year that would explain to parents and guardians who I am, who my dog is, what the purpose of having the dog in the school is, and then there was also an opportunity for people to opt out of their student interacting with the dog. And there is a disclaimer that he will be in the hallways when I'm bringing him in and out of the building, so there's no absolute guarantee that there will be no interaction, but I do my best to accommodate any of those concerns. And for me, I would always bring him in really early before it got really crazy with buses and parking lot traffic. I would wait until bus is cleared at the end of the day, things like that, to try to be mindful of things like that. And I never had a form come back saying people didn't want to have an interaction, but I always gave people that opportunity. And then for new students, I would probably just include it with the registration, and I would work with whoever I would need to here so that they wouldn't be missed when they come in. I also had a sign outside my office indicating that my dog was in, so nobody was surprised by him, because that was not something I ever wanted. And then I don't know if here you do email announcements, daily email announcements, but in the past I would include on the days that he was in too, so that staff would be aware. I have a gate in my office that I have right by my desk so that he can be kept totally behind my desk for students who are comfortable with him being in the room, but maybe don't want to interact with him or don't feel ready to interact with him. I offer an alternate location to meet with someone if they totally don't want to have any interaction with the dog. And then I do not do any surprise visits or forced interactions. So when I've had a request from a teacher to come into a classroom, I just won't do it, because not every single person wants to have that interaction with the dog, and I don't want to surprise anybody, even though it might be a really good intention to have a surprise dog come in. It just does not work well for everybody. And during my lunch break is when I would take my dog out for a bathroom break and a walk, and there's lots of green space all around the building, so I don't have any concerns there. And then in case of an emergency, if he were ever to get sick and need to leave immediately, I have several family members close within the area that would be able to come and get him. And if I knew he wasn't feeling well, I wouldn't bring him, but if something were to come up. And then in the past, when we've had code yellows or like fire drills, I think in the past it's just worked that he happened to not be there on those days, but if we were to have one of those things come up, I feel like he would handle it really well, because he goes hunting, so the noises and things like that, and in general, he does well with loud noises and 4th of July, so I don't have any concerns with the alarms or anything like that. And then I feel like with the prior success slide, I talked about many of the questions and concerns that come up with having a therapy dog in the school, but what questions or concerns would you have for something like this being implemented?
I don't have a question for you, but do we have any known allergies for students in the building?
That'd be a question for sure, Lennis, that we would work with
Sure.
on that, yeah.
And on the form that I sent to parents and guardians, they can check if there's an allergy.
There's some cultural considerations with the dog too. How will those be addressed?
For students who don't want to interact with him, I would offer to meet here or somewhere else, and I just wouldn't ever force them to interact with my dog at all, which is why I kind of keep him in my office too, and I don't bring him into public spaces.
Yeah, it sounds like she won't have them in the hallways.
Right.
I think it would have, from other schools, even having it in the building, you haven't noticed a cultural concern.
No, when I was in Moorhead Public Schools during my internship, they have a really diverse population there too, and there was not a concern with it being in the building, as long as those things of trying to bring them in and out during non-high traffic times, not forcing interactions, things like that.
Can we send the letter out to families in other languages, just so they're, okay?
Yeah.
So they have the opportunity to opt out?
I like it.
It might have been in the first slide, but how old is Chips?
He will be 7 in October. And I waited until,
Dog person.
yeah, he was 2 or 3 to even start the training. He wasn't ready before then. He was way too much of a puppy, but he has a really great temperament, and that was kind of 90% of it is, do they like people, do they like to go places, and that was him. So it was just all the other skills we had to work on, and it took me about a year to do all the training that was necessary.
Anybody else have questions? Okay.
All right, thanks for letting
Thank
me
you.
share that with you.
So Dr. Ed, just a quick note here, Dr. Ed, when COVID first started, he brought his dog in and walked around and went lot of staff too, so, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Martinez, finance report.
Alright. Take a look here. Alright, we'll start with the treasurer's report. Treasurer's report is the last month in our fiscal calendar, June 30th, 2022. Overall, pretty standard month. I'll just go through some key rocks that happened this month. Started our investments with $7.4 million, and we ended our investment account at 7.9. In terms of the capital fluctuation for our school district, we started the month with $1.7 million cash on hand. This is the money that is kept in our checking account. We had $165,000 in deposits that came from various pieces, whether it was summer rec registration, a levy check that came in from Becker County for $100,000, and a couple other big deposits. Accounts payable was for a total of $956,000, a little bit high than our normal, but that's okay because we pretty much paid out any outstanding invoice that we had from the year. And one of them was Lakes Country Service Co-op bill for our ECFE program. Payroll, again, you see that it's a little bit elevated than what we normally have in a month of $531,000. Again, this is normal because in addition to our normal payroll, we have pay-ups. Pay-ups is what we do for staff that want to cash in any of their vacation days that they haven't used, in addition to all of our summer and year-round activities. So that's what we've had. Total cash on hand at the end of the month, we had $453,000. So again, a very good place for us to be fiscally. Didn't do any journal entries this particular month, just for the sense that audit is coming up, and then there's a phantom period, which we call period 13, to do all of the adjusted entries to make sure that we reconcile with the state and federal grants. All of the payables are in the last pages. I'm not going to go through them because it's a lot of them, but if you have any questions on them, please always reach out, and I'm more than happy to provide insight into what they are for. Other big pieces that we have in the agenda today, actually before I go, does anybody have questions on the board treasurer's report? Okay, other pieces that in the agenda that are in terms related to the fiscal piece of the office. We have the letter of engagement from 8 Bailey for the upcoming audit for the fiscal year 22. So we want you guys to please go ahead and approve that. This is standard practice, simply outlines the scope of work that will be done, and we needed to approve in order for them to start engaging and start asking for reports. Under consent items, we also have the renewal with MSBA and MREA. MSBA is crucial for us because it helps us guide with a lot of the board training in addition to a lot of the policy piece that we use to make sure that we stay current. MREA is an amazing organization to be part of. It helps us advocate for any changes regarding to rural school Minnesota. So please go ahead and approve the approval for the upcoming membership for those. Under business items, we have the busing contract with Christensen. Again, this has been discussed over the last two board meetings, in addition to a committee meeting. But overall, we sat down with Christensen Bus Services and we negotiated, and we came up with a really good agreement that falls exactly within budget of what we discussed. The main cost that will increase is that additional day for our school, moving from a 4-day to a 5-day, and that's accounted for in the contract. And like we mentioned in the previous meeting, we're continuing to monitor gas prices. They seem to be trending down a little bit, but with holidays and everything coming up, I think we're gonna stay over $4. So we do have a plus in there that they cover up to the first $2. Everything else gets billed to the school district. Then the last piece that is directly related to me is to please accept my letter of resignation as finance director for Pelican Rapids Public Schools. that came as a career choice for me that kind of landed at my lap. I've been chased by a company or an accounting firm called School Management Services that has been over 10 years of existence. They're based outside of Rochester, Minnesota, founded by a guy named Todd, and essentially he used to be a consultant for MDE and then decided he wanted to go into the business of helping schools be successful, and then recruited some partners, and then 15 years down the road, he now has 30 accountants like me on staff that manage over 40 school districts in the state of Minnesota. They are very, very credible, and from my research and background of them, it fit perfectly with what I wanted to do long term. In negotiations with School Management Services, I told them that I would not join if I did not have Pelican under my umbrella, for the sense that Pelican's my baby, and I've always treated Pelican very well, and if they weren't under my belt, I would not join with them. So after many talks with Todd and Mr. Korf, we came with the agreement that yes, everything would align if, one, today we approve the SMS contract allocating me as the full on-house accountant through SMS. So the only thing we're changing here is the way the money flows. So Pelican Rapids will continue to have me for 5 days a week on site unless I have to travel to a client that needs me. I will continue to do all the expectations that I have that are outlined in the contract, that it goes from accounts receivable, accounts payable, to all the high-level management, making sure we're always in compliance with the state and federal. So all of that will continue to do the same. I'll continue to service and help Mr. Korf and the board with any needs that you guys have. So nothing will change in terms of the relationship between me with the school district. The only thing that will change is that rather than paying me directly, you guys will be paying SMS through the contract. SMS turns around and then pays me as I'm an employee of them. Why is this a great move? Good question. Two things, okay? First one is, in order to do this, I wanted to make sure that there was a two-sided benefit, and that is that the school is gonna save significant amount of money. And that savings comes from fringe benefits. There is quite a bit of an appeal for the district to go ahead and make this move, as they will be saving, as I mentioned, significant amount of dollars. The other piece, it puts me in line to be at market value to what other finance directors are making in the state, and essentially it's a good career move for me, as one, I get to make more money, and two, I get to learn more and be supported by a larger organization that has the resources in the event that I'm out of the office for an extended period of time and somebody needs to come in and continue operations as needed. So that's kind of that dual benefit that, in my view, was a win-win for everyone, for the school district and for myself. In terms of, well, what clients do you have that are gonna take your time today? I have 2 clients, in addition to Pelican Rapids, that I will be assigned to. The first one will be a small charter school right outside, they're in the Blaine area, just right outside of the metro area. Their enrollment is 70 students. They're not very big. Takes me 20 minutes to do their books, so not very high. The other school district that I'm going to be part of a team of 5 different other accountants coming in to continue to help the cleanup will be Detroit Lakes. Detroit Lakes contacted SMS and asked for help because they need it significantly, and I would be one of the accountants just because of my location to them to go and just help with the analytical stuff, with the transition to a new accounting system, and just to make sure that they're in compliance. So that's all that I have. I knew I threw a lot at you guys, and I knew that this was kind of very, very all of a sudden showed up, but it was an opportunity that was presented to me, and I brought it to Mr. Korf right away, and again, if you guys have any discussions, or if you guys have any questions, I'm here to answer them, and please know that this is a career move that I asked Mr. Korf to support me on, so that's why we're asking for this. Yep. Questions regarding that transition? So I'm resigning, but you still have me. I'm back. Yes, go ahead.
So you have basically 3 that you work for now, is that kind of your cap, or will they add more to you possibly, or is that your full workload right now?
That would be my full workload. If I want to take on another client, I can. It means I make more money, but I also have to give up time. And right now with a newborn on the way, coaching girls soccer, I will not take on another client. So I know my limitations and I know my capacity, and I will not be taking another client. Yeah, great question.
And that was kind of part of the reason too, is you now have capacity.
Correct.
Because things are stable in the district.
That's exactly correct, and that is the reason why I really thought hard about it. Over the last 4 years, I've invested so much time in Pelican that I now have it operating in a very well-oiled machine that I am not concerned with anything. And know that I have the district at a very high efficient level of operations, but I do not distract myself not paying attention to it. So I know the calendar from MDE, from the state, and from the federal of everything that needs to be done, but I continue to provide the same analytical services. I always make sure that before we put something forward or before we make any fiscal changes, I overanalyze it. Any other questions? And like I said, peace of mind for you guys is that if I win the lottery tomorrow, you guys will have 30 different accountants that can jump in at any point in time and say, hey, don't worry, we got you guys.
So this would go to, like, let's say Mrs. Evanson was out for a period of time. We'd have SMS be able to fill into for during that time if she had to be out of the office. Also grant writing, so they offer some other services too that we can tap into if needed.
Absolutely, yes, and I forgot to mention that the scope of services that they provide covers everything that a district needs. So, yeah, so at any point in time, even if Emily wants to go on vacation today, we don't necessarily have a backup. SMS would be able to come in and say, let your employee go on vacation. We have it.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Clark. Moving on up.
Okay, got quite a few items, so I'll try to go through them here quickly. Parking lot update, our parking lots are looking great. They are finishing up here, and they're going to be putting in the parking spots, the lines, and everything like that here in the next week or two, so depending on weather. So just so you know, behind the north side of the elementary school, we did add the little, so they can enter and leave on that north side, and that would be north and east of the elementary school, so they can get in and out there. There is gonna be a little lip there, and that's because for drainage and for water. So there's a little, as you leave the parking lot, there's just a little lip, so if you hear anything like that, then we have to keep it that way. Other than that, the big pile of dirt is gonna be moved here. We're taking bids here over the next couple days into next week, and then next week deciding who we're going to award the bid to. And then I believe the dirt will start to be moved here between now and then workshop. So we wanna be done with it before workshop starts. That hill, that area will not be able to be used in the fall. Hopefully maybe in the spring and next summer, so. Community education items, summer rec. I talked a little bit about summer rec activities are finishing up. I wanna thank our staff for all the work they did this summer. A lot of fun times for kids participating in our summer rec. Everly Brothers performance is gonna be this Saturday at 7 PM. Summer play is gonna be August 1st to the 5th with a performance on that Friday of that week at 7 PM. And then open gym here will continue over the next couple weeks. Gyms will be closed during the first weeks of August, and that's to refinish the gym floor. So, staff development items, CPI training for special education teachers and paraprofessionals, that is on hold. That was an all-day training for special ed and the paraprofessionals. That was held in June and will be held again in August, so they had a choice of which one to attend. Promethean board, just a reminder that every classroom in the district has a Promethean board in the classroom now, a new one. And training was offered here in July and will be offered again in August for teachers to be trained. Administrative team office meeting, that'll be the first week of August. We're planning that right now, just some topics there. We'll be planning the school year, job duties, responsibilities, just with a few changes of staff. We'll be going over duties and responsibilities, policies, support staff needs. We'll be looking at what are our needs? Do we need to hire any support staff? That would be like paraprofessionals. We're gonna see who's coming back and not coming back and see what gaps we need to fill. We'll be talking about transportation. More of transportation would be with special ed transportation of what students need, special ed transportation and setting up that schedule. Reviewing handbooks, policies, and then discussing teaching and learning. The nice thing is the last couple of years we've been really focused on COVID and how do we get through COVID and meet the needs of students and teachers. And we're gonna start with new high school principal now. We're gonna go back into what does teaching and learning look like, what do we want it to look like, what do we want to improve, what do we want to change, and then looking at the Charlotte Danielson teaching model. Administrative professional development, we are going to have Pemberton Law, attorney Christy Hastings come in, and she's going to be working with our team on the discipline process, hiring improvement plans, special education 504 plans, social media. So those are some of the topics that they're going to be discussing with our administrative team. District brochure, the good news about our district, the elementary school and the high school, we're going to be sending that out to all district families and families in the area of our school district. That will be going out this week or early next week. Some items on the agenda today. Thank you to Mrs. Evenson for her years of service at the high school here and at the elementary. She has taught Phi Ed and health here and driver's education and behind the wheel. So a lot of years of service that she has put in, and we want to thank her for her service and all her hard work. Thank you to Mr. Severson for his years of coaching Viking football. We appreciate his dedication and his sacrifice, the amount of hours that he has put in to coaching football here at Pelican Rapids and working with our student athletes. Recommendations for hire. Mr. Brown is a long-term English position here for this fall, and also to hire him as our fall play director. He's very excited to lead the fall play and to come in and teach English here for the first 9 weeks. Joy Miller is assistant girls soccer coach. Miss Moan, elementary music teacher. Last week we interviewed for the elementary music teacher. We had a late resignation, and Miss Moan taught 1 year at Montevideo, graduated 2 years ago from Concordia College, was involved in their band program, so we're very excited to have Miss Moan join our team. She will be teaching summer band lessons, so she's jumping right in, so we're very fortunate that it all worked out. Miss Faison, who will be teaching high school physical education, we interviewed yesterday. We opened up the position last week and took applications. It's really a tough situation here because they have to be able to resign from their position and the school to accept that. So hiring Miss Faison as the high school physical education teacher, health teacher, and teaching DAPE. We've had an increase of students receiving DAPE services. DAPE is adaptive PE, and they have to have a disability to qualify for DAPE. So she would be teaching 1 hour of DAPE or possibly 2 hours of DAPE. We'll have to be looking at the schedule and the needs of our students. So working with the counselor on that and the high school principal to see what our needs are there. Ms. Faison has been teaching at West Fargo schools. And she graduated from NDSU and went to Moorhead High School. So she lives in the district, and I think she's excited to have the opportunity, if approved, to have a shorter distance of a drive. Recommendation for renewals, Mr. Martinez touched on them, on the MSBA and the MREA. And then we have policies, and there's no changes at this time to those policies. They're the same as last year. New staff workshop, August 23rd through the 25th. We have, I believe, 5 new staff teachers that will have 3 days with them to spend time with them. And then district staff workshop will be August 29th through September 1st. And just a reminder to all of you that the staff picnic will be on the August 29th on the Monday night. And we usually have that at 6 p.m., I believe. So I think August 17th, we can talk about the details there of what we want to serve and things like that. So one thing I don't have on my list is the CNA class. Quick update on CNA. I've been working with Tyler at Pelican Valley, and we're going to be moving in all the materials needed for the class here at the beginning of August. We are working on the instructor. He's filling out the application. We're feeling really good about where we're at with it. We're working with him like how we're going to cover the expenses of the instructor. I'm also working with Troy Haugen out of Lakes Country Co-op to see what we can tap into there for funding to help us out. And I've started the discussion with Dan Agee from Agee Construction, part owner there. And we're starting to look into how do we offer some programming here at the high school for like Agee Construction, how to certificate to operate large machinery. So working with Troy Hogan and some area businesses now to help our kids so when they graduate they're prepared for college, but also if they're going to the work world that they have some certificates that they can go out and make a little bit more money. So I'll keep you updated on that. Upcoming meetings, August 4th is the MSBA Summer Seminar. I will be attending that. That is a virtual. And if anyone wants to join me, feel free to join me in the boardroom here if you'd like to join me on that. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any questions? Okay, we will move on. Thank you. Item 7, consent items. Item A will be approved board meeting minutes, June 20th, 2022, regular meeting. B, financial claims and June bills. C, treasurer's report. D, accept donations for the Viking Boutique, $40, Laura Klimek. And student accounts, $40, Laura Klimek. Item E, personnel, approve the retirement of Denise Evenson as PE health teacher at PRHS. Approve the resignation of Ryan Severson as assistant football coach. Approve the resignation of Rudy Martinez as finance director. Approve the hire of David Brown as fall play advisor. Approve the hire of David Brown as long-term English teacher from 8/29/2022 to 10/19/2022. Approve the hire of Michaela Fasten as high school Phi-Ed health day teacher, 1.0 FTE. Approve the hire of Joy Miller as assistant girls soccer coach. Approve the hire of Michaela Moen as elementary music teacher, 1.0 FTE. Item F, approve the audit engagement letter with Ide Bailey for 2021-2022 audit. Approve the membership renewal with the Minnesota School Board Association, MSBA, 2022 to 2023. And approve the membership renewal with MREA, Minnesota Rural Education Association, for the same years. So I'll entertain a motion for the consent items.
Make a motion to approve the consent items.
Motion by Ann. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Molly. Discussion or anything? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the consent items signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Consent carries. Item 8, business items. Approve the 2022-2023 busing contract with Christensen Bus Service. And that is posted on the website also if we need to look at it. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 busing contract with Christensen Bus Service.
Okay, motion by Brenda,
A second.
second by Brittany. Any discussion on the bus contract?
I'll be abstaining.
Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the bus contract signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same, and Ann abstains. Carries. Approve the 2022-2023 designations. I don't think we have a piece of paper in front of us, do we? So it's online, so. Did these change from last year, or besides the meeting dates?
So, one item that has, or a couple items that have changed is the increase in cost of lunch and breakfast. We increased that by 10 cents. The cost of food now has increased. So that's the reason of why increasing the charging of lunch and breakfast. So meal prices increased by 10 cents. Also, sub rates for non-certified, we increased that. That increase matches the same percent of the increase of certified substitutes. So, and we compared what we were paying to area schools, and we were lower in area schools, so we wanted to make sure that we're right in line with the schools in the area.
Are we
Go ahead.
still using Wells Fargo, or did everything move to Minnesota National?
Everything moved to Minnesota National in terms of our checking account. However, we want to designate Wells Fargo because they hold all of our debt. So all of our debts they manage.
Thank you.
With the activity tickets, are we doing the same type of things last year?
With
Or
free
the free and
reduced.
reduced lunch applications?
So that would be open to the board to approve, if you want to do that again. So what we did last year was, is that they turned in a form, then they got a free activity pass. So I think that would be a benefit, because the more people that qualify, turn it in and they qualify, the more money that we get.
And that waiver is gone, right? That application needs to come in this year for free and reduced? Yeah.
Correct, yep.
Is that something we need to put on as an approval item for August then?
We did not do that last year. We just, the board said here, anyone that fills this up, we'll give them a free activity pass, and that's what we did.
Rudy, did you feel like that was a good?
Yeah, absolutely. We did see an increase from 2 years ago to last year, just offering that incentive. This year is crucial because the FDA will no longer provide the waiver to provide free lunch, so any incentive that we can get for families to turn in that lunch application it's beneficial to the school district, as it provides more aid for compensatory, it impacts our free and reduced, which also impacts our federal grants. So the more children and families we qualify, the better the district is off.
I think it's a win-win. It seemed like there was a lot more students at activities as well, which is good all around for everybody. So I think it was quite an increase, it seemed like.
The other increase is to driver's ed, we increased that by $20. That's the cost of fuel. Instructor increase, so we increased that by $20 from $280 to $300. We did not do anything with raises for the board, for board meetings, and for the chair and for the clerk. If you want to discuss that and increase that, that would be a board decision. I will say this, that the board chair, in this case Mr. Carter, between a phone call or text, where we stay in close contact weekly, I'm guessing that we talk or text weekly, depending on the week, but average probably 1 to 2 times a week that averages out. So board chair stays pretty involved. I try to keep the board chair up to date of what's going on, any changes, especially with staffing changes, policies, things like that. So I don't know when the last time you've increased that.
Not since I've been on.
We actually took a reduction back when we were in financial straits. It was like $86 even before that, so,
I'm fine with
but
where
I'm
it's
not
at.
in it for the money, so.
Right.
Any discussion on it, or move on?
Do we want to do the free activity pass if they turn in a lunch application?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would we just add that to the motion, or?
I think so. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2022-2023 designations with the intent to allow free student activity tickets for athletic events when the reintroduced lunch form is received in the district office for this school year.
I second.
Sound good, okay. Motion by Ann, second by Brenda. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the designations with added content, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. It carries. Item C, approve the annual update of the following policies. Mr. Clark said there was no changes to these. We just have to do the annual update. 410, family and medical leave policy. 413, harassment and violence policy. 414, mandated reporting of child neglect or physical abuse or sexual abuse. 415, mandated reporting of maltreatment of vulnerable adults. 514, bullying prohibition policy. 522, student sex non-discrimination policy. 524, internet acceptance, use, and safety policy. And 806, crisis management policy. And I'll make a motion that we approve the policies as read.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the policies? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the annual update of the policies signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same. Policies carried. Item D, approve the contract with School Management Systems, or SMS.
Make a motion to approve the contract with school management systems.
Motion by Ann, I'll make a second. Any discussion?
I have a question as to why this was not sent to the board members, looks like back when it was received July 1st.
The contract?
Yes. I had to do my own research over the weekend and I found an old one from an old school. So I was reviewing that, but didn't know what would be different between ours. And I didn't have time because of things going on in my life where I couldn't make phone calls to ask more questions.
Sure. I'll answer that question. The date on the contract SMS is July 1st, and that is just a dated stamp because SMS wants to include me in their payroll as of July 1st.
Okay.
The approval for the actual contract for me to start providing services will technically be July 15th or July 8th, July 20th in our case, but that's just the customary one as
Okay.
the one I had me on their payroll.
So when was this received here?
This was received when we sent it out by the actual, when we started sending the information to the board on the Friday reports, which I believe if it wasn't this Friday, it was the prior to.
Okay. Because I would have liked to have reviewed this before voting personally, but that's just how I deal with contracts. Especially with it being a new company. I know nothing about the company, I would have liked to have done a little background, see how it worked for other schools if we knew anybody.
Was our lawyer able to look at it?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, myself, Mr. Korf, Ann, and myself, we zoomed in with the company, I can't remember his name right offhand.
Todd.
Blake? Todd, okay. And went over some of this stuff, and the concerns or how it would work, and negotiated a little bit with it. But that was in a pretty early stage, it's been a few weeks,
Yeah.
a couple weeks.
So then in regards to it stating that Rudy is in our district, that's in your contract, but not in ours as a school district.
Say that again, I'm sorry?
With it being said that you wanted us in your route or whatever you wanna call it, that's in your contract, but not in ours.
That's correct. So the unique situation with this contract is that, say for example, you know who you're getting,
Right.
right, which is me. So, in my portfolio with SMS, 90% of my time is dedicated to Pelican Rapids.
Okay.
The difference with another district that would be contract SMS is whoever is available to pick up the district. In terms of proximity and availability would get the district, but I vouch that in order for me to go on with SMS, I need a Pelican under my belt. This is my number one priority. So that's the difference here, is you know who you're getting. So in terms of betting the company, you're betting me.
And are we just doing 1 year to start, is that correct?
It's a 3-year contract
It's
with a
3.
60-day, if we want to get out of it, 60-day opt-out.
And then in an old contract, I found SMS, I think, has 30 days to opt out. I don't know if that's in here. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen this before voting. I personally don't feel comfortable voting yet. So I would either opt out of voting today, or I can vote no, whatever looks better, I guess. And it has nothing to do with you, Rudy.
No, I don't take anything personally, I completely understand.
Okay.
Any more questions or discussion? A few more readings, so just checking. Any more discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we have a motion and a second on the table. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the contract with School Management Systems, SMS, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same.
Hi.
That motion carries. Item E, approve the resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy. So we have election coming up. Filing dates are August 2nd through August 16th, 2022. So with this, it's a resolution, so I'll entertain a motion in a second, and then we'll go on with the resolution. I will read it. I'll read it first. Resolution establishing dates for filing affidavits of candidacy, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 548, State of Minnesota as follows. The period for filing affidavits of candidacy for the office of school board member of Independent School District 548 shall begin on August 2nd and shall close on August 16th, 2022. An affidavit of candidacy must be filed in the office of the school district clerk, and the $2 filing fee paid prior to 5:00 p.m. on August 16th, 2022. So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Brenda, a second.
I'll second.
Second by Molly. So this is a resolution, so Molly, how do you resolve?
Yes.
Brenda?
Yes.
Yes. Ann?
Yes.
Brittany?
Yes.
Resolution carries. That concludes our business portion here. We have upcoming meetings, August 4th, MSBA Summer Seminar, virtual. We have August 17th, regular meeting at 7 a.m. September 21st, regular meeting at 6 p.m. So next, we will move to go into a closed meeting for superintendent evaluation, Minnesota Statute 13D David .05, subdivision 3, parentheses A. We'll move to close the meeting, discuss the superintendent eval, and to adjourn following the closed session. The statement will then be read at the following meeting.
Make a motion to move into a closed meeting for the superintendent evaluation.
Motion by Ann,
I'll second.
second by Brittany. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of going into a closed session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Okay,